Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, we are going to discuss one of the topic in AUD689, which is the impact of IT on audit process. Our group member consists of Muhammad Adli bin Muhammad Nawi, Muhammad Daniel Arif bin Noh, Wan Nurul Ifah binti Wan Sulaiman, and Nur Aisyah binti Khalid. Hi, my name is Muhammad Adli bin Muhammad Nawi, and before we start, we need to understand what is Computer Information System, CIS. CIS environment is a type of environment where transactions are processed with the help of the computer. When CIS used extensively in audit environment, the nature of timing of the auditor procedure may be affected. Audit software is used to facilitate tasks such as preparing working trial balance and compute tax. Alright, next, we are going to discuss about audit objective and scope of work in computerized environment. Firstly, the overall objective and scope of an audit does not change in a CIS environment. The use of computer changes the processing, storage, and communication of financial information, and this may affect the accounting and internal control system employed by the entity. But the overall audit objective still don't change, which is to express an opinion on the true and fair view of the financial statement. Alright, next we are going to discuss about area of audit process that affected by CIS. This is all about skill and competence. Auditors should have sufficient knowledge of the CIS to play direct supervise and review the work of performance. Auditors should obtain sufficient understanding of the accounting and internal control affected by the CIS environment. Next, auditors should determine the effect of CIS on the procedure to assess the audit risk. Next, auditors should be able to design and perform appropriate tests of control and also substantive tests. And lastly, auditors should consider whether specialized CIS skills are needed in an audit. Next, we are moved to assessing risk of IT. Firstly is lack of transaction skill, where audit trail available for the short period or not in the form of computer readable form. If the transaction is too complex and high volume error may be embedded in application program logic and difficult to detect on a timely basis. Secondly is lack of segregation of duties. May of control procedure are performed by separate individual in manual system but may not be in CIS. Third is potential for error and irregularities. Potential for human error are unable to detect the error may be greater in CIS. Also, the potential of unauthorized data without visible evidence may be greater in CIS than manual system. Fourth is initiation or execution of transaction. CIS may have capabilities to execute transaction automatically. As example, depreciation and also the authorization for transaction is not available. Fifth, if lack of visible output. Certain transaction or result may not be printed. Thus, the lack of visible output may result in the need of access data and detail on the file readable only by computer. Last but not least, is to access the data and computer program.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Wan Nurul Ifah, and now I'm going to talk about internal control component affected by CIS. First, assignment of authority and responsibility, where clear lines of authority and responsibility are important so that the entity's objectives are met. Second, they need to improvise HR policy, where they need to appoint a competent, trustworthy employees in any internal control system. It is important to have personnel who possess skills and expertise needed to oversee and operate the information system. Next, how to control procedures are by information processing. For the client system, they have to see whether they can control two areas, which are authorization of transaction and keeping adequate documents and records. In IT environment, many of the authorization procedures for transaction may be part of the application program. The auditor may not be able to observe the authorization policies. Hence, a well-designed information system should be including a record of the transaction taking place in machine-readable form stored in this or other electronic devices. Because accounting standards for clients and auditors are different. For example, the client may use SQL as their system, so they have to check whether it relates to the company's policy and accounting standard or not. Secondly, segregation of duties. In an IT environment, the program within the system may assume the responsibilities of all the functions that include initiation, authorization, and recording. Thus, it is important to have adequate controls within the IT. For example, who is in charge authorization for key-in, who is in charge to oversee for IT, and so far and so on. So that if anything happens, that person is going to take the responsibility. Thirdly, physical controls. In IT applications, most assets and record may be concentrated in the database system. It is important in any system to have physical controls on these assets and records. Thus, need to have proper backup controls for computer programs and data files. For the next part, I'm going to talk about the types of control in CIS environment. There are two types of control, which are general control and application control. For general control, it defined as those policies and procedures that relates to all or many applications controls. General control includes data center and network operations, system software acquisition, change and maintenance controls, access security control like using card access to the computer room, and application system acquisition, development, and maintenance controls. Means that the client has to check the policies and integrity of the information from the aspect of security. Now I will go through more detail about data center and network operations. There is no need for authorized access to the programs, files, and system documentation. The operator responsible is to be rotate and the files should be properly maintained and backup since we only need the output. However, authorization needed for transaction because it will affect the data. For system software acquisition, change and maintenance controls, system software are computer systems that control the computer function and allow the application program to run. For example, Windows allow Microsoft Office to run. Windows is system software and Microsoft Office is application system. The entity should have strong controls that ensure proper approval for purchase of new system, changes, and maintenance of existing software. Next, access security control. This includes physical protection of computer equipment, software, and data, and also loss of assets and information through theft and unauthorized use. For example, special room for computer and equipment or separate building and accessible to the room or building must be limited to the authorized personnel only. This also includes recovery procedures for lost data. Furthermore, for application system acquisition, development, and maintenance controls. For example, accounting system. Controls on this is critical for ensuring the reliability of information processing. It might be better to have involvement of internal and external auditors in early stage to design the system to ensure proper control incorporate to the system. Auditor need to review the design of the general controls before reviewing the application controls. Whereas for application, controls that are specific to certain application, for example, accounting system like the ledger and journal are complete to posting. It is defined as manual or automated procedures that operate at business process level and therefore apply to the processing of individual applications. The application control is designed to ensure integrity of the accounting records. It also to ensure transactions are occurred and authorized and are complete and accurately recorded and processed. Application control will be discussed under the following categories. First, data capture controls. It is to ensure that all transactions are recorded in application system. Transactions are recorded only once and rejected transactions are identified, controlled, corrected, and re-entered into the system. Secondly, data validation controls. It is to ensure accuracy assertion and is done at various stages depending on the entity's IT capabilities. For example, when tested in manual whether it is the same as in system or not. When it's not same, the auditor has to reject the accounting software. Third, processing controls to ensure proper processing of transactions. It part of data processing and general control plays an important role in providing assurance about the quality of data processing. Fourthly, output controls. Output includes checks, documents, and other printed documents. The main concern here is that computer output from computer output may be distributed or displayed to unauthorized users. A report distribution log should contain a a schedule of when reports are prepared, the names of individuals who are to receive the report, and the distribution date. Lastly, error control, to ensure that most transaction errors be identified by data capture and data validation controls. Errors can be identified at any point in the system. After identified, errors must be corrected and resubmitted to the application system at the correct point in the processing. There are 7 ways to validation control. First, limit test, where it is to ensure numerical value does not exceed some predetermined value. Second, range test is to ensure value in field within an allowable range of value. Third, sequence check. It is to determine if input date is proper in numerical or alphabetical sequence. Fourth, existence test. It is to test of an ID, number, or code. And fifth, field test is to ensure it contains either all numerical or alphabetic character. Sixth, sign test, ensure that the data in field have the proper arithmetic sign. And lastly, check digit verification, a numerical value computed to provide assurance that the original value was not altered. It does not mean the auditors need to apply all this control. They may choose 3 or 4 for validation of the data. Audit procedures is a procedures in obtaining, understanding, accounting, and internal control where the auditor needs to examine the accounting system in that computer. Also, performing tests of controls and substantive tests, for instance, audit through computer to make sure whether it is complete or not by comparing manual and computer. The auditor's specific objective do not change whether the accounting data is processed manually or by the computer. However, method of applying audit procedures together evidence may differ. Auditor may perform audit procedures manually or use CAAT or combination of both. For auditing around the computer, auditor does not examine the computer processing but perform procedures to obtain understanding accounting and internal control, but to emphasis on ensuring the completeness, accuracy and validity of information by comparing the output reports with the input documents. Second, to ensure the effectiveness of input controls and output controls. And lastly, to ensure the adequacy of segregation of duties. Auditor performing tests of control and substantive tests, for example, test data, enable the auditor to examine the computer processing, internal control of the client CIS. Auditor may use CAAT, audit software. In these procedures, CAAT helps auditors to organize, analyzing and extracting computerized data, and re-performing computation and other processing. Now I will talk about the use of computers as an audit tool. First, we have spreadsheet like Microsoft Excel. It is used for trial balance and lead schedule, time and cost budgeting, and analytical procedures. Second, we have word processor like Word Office. It is used for audit documentation, audit program preparation, documentation of internal control, and it is used as communication and reports. Next, we have statistical packages used for selecting sample for testing and analyze result by means of explanation to population as a whole. For example, SPSS. And lastly, we have CAAT, for example, SQL, that can be used as audit tool for auditors.
ISA 401 Auditing in a CIS environment addresses the use of computer-assisted audit techniques, CAATs, in certain conditions, including when there is an absence of input documents or a lack of a visible audit trail. In such situations, CAATs can be beneficial in improving the effectiveness and efficiency of auditing procedures. When there is an absence of input documents, auditors may face challenges in obtaining the necessary evidence to support their audit conclusions. CAATs can assist in this case by allowing auditors to extract and analyze relevant data from systems or database directly. By performing data analysis and applying appropriate audit procedures, auditors can gain insights and draw conclusions based on the extracted data, compensating for the lack of physical input documents. Similarly, when there is a lack of a visible audit trail, CAATs can help auditors reconstruct and analyze transactions or events. CAATs can enable auditors to examine system logs, access controls, and other electronic records to establish an audit trail and identify potential issues or irregularities. By using CAATs, auditors can analyze the available electronic evidence and perform tests on the data to verify its accuracy and reliability. In both of these scenarios, CAATs provide auditors with tools and techniques to overcome limitations and enhance the audit process. They enable auditors to access and analyze electronic data more effectively, providing a greater level of assurance and supporting the overall audit objectives. Big auditing firms often utilize computer-assisted audit techniques (CAATs) for their large clients. These firms have access to greater resources and capabilities, allowing them to invest in advanced technology and software tools to enhance their audit procedures. Some reasons why big auditing firms commonly use CAATs for their big clients include efficient data analysis. Big clients often have extensive and complex data sets, making manual analysis time-consuming and prone to errors. CAATs enable auditors to efficiently analyze large volumes of data, identify patterns, and detect anomalies more effectively. This improves the efficiency of the audit process and allows auditors to focus on areas of higher risk. The second one is increased precision and accuracy. CAATs offer advanced analytical capabilities, including data sampling, statistical analysis, and exception reporting. By leveraging these tools, auditors can conduct more precise and accurate assessments, minimizing the risk of overlooking important information or potential issues. Overall, the use of CAATs by big auditing firms for their big clients allows for more efficient, accurate, and comprehensive audits, addressing the unique challenges presented by complex data environments and regulatory compliance. There are two common types of CAATs. The first one is audit software. Audit software, including generalized audit software (GAS), is indeed a common type of computer-assisted audit techniques (CAAT). Audit software is specialized software tools designed specifically for auditing purposes, providing auditors with features for data extraction, analysis, and reporting. Generalized audit software (GAS) is a type of audit software that offers auditors a range of functionalities to perform data analysis and automate audit procedures. The use of audit software, including GAS, enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of the audit process. It enables auditors to analyze large volumes of data, identify exceptions, and focus on areas of higher risk. The data extraction, analysis, and reporting capabilities provided by audit software streamline audit procedures and support auditors in delivering accurate and insightful findings. The second one is test data. Test data is used to test the application controls in an entity's computer program. By utilizing test data, auditors can assess the effectiveness of the controls in place and identify any vulnerability. Test data is typically prepared by auditors and includes specific scenarios or transactions that cover a range of conditions and scenarios. These test cases are designed to evaluate how the system responds to different inputs, ensuring that the application controls are functioning as intended. By running the test data through the system, auditors can observe the system's behavior and compare the actual results with the expected outcomes. Any discrepancies or deviations can indicate potential control failures or areas that require further investigation. Factors that auditors consider when deciding whether to use computer-assisted audit techniques, CAATs, include: the first one is availability of visible evidence. If there is a lack of visible evidence or traditional audit documentation, auditors may consider using CAATs to extract and analyze data directly from electronic sources. The second one is cost effectiveness. Auditors need to assess the costs associated with implementing CAATs compared to the benefits gained. This includes considering the initial investment in software and hardware, training costs, and ongoing maintenance expenses. Third one is suitability for testing financial statement items. Auditors evaluate the extent to which CAATs can effectively and accurately perform tests on various financial statement items. They consider the capabilities of the software tools to analyze and detect errors, anomalies, or potential fraud in the specific areas being audited. Number 4, timeliness of reporting. When auditors face time constraints and need to produce audit reports within a relatively short period, the use of CAATs can improve efficiency. Automation and data analysis capabilities can expedite the audit process and enable auditors to meet reporting deadlines. Number 5, condition of hardware and software support. The availability and condition of computer hardware and software infrastructure are crucial. Auditors assess whether the existing systems can support the implementation of CAATs effectively. This includes considerations such as system compatibility, processing power, storage capacity, and network capabilities. So, it is important for auditors to carefully evaluate these factors and make informed decisions about the use of CAATs. They should assess the specific circumstances of the audit engagement, the risks involved, and the potential benefits that CAATs can bring to the audit process. As I mentioned before, there are two types of computer-assisted audit techniques, which include audit software and test data. Audit software is used to examine the content of the client's file, while test data, it is used to test the operation of the enterprise computer program.
There are several types of testing in audit software that is used during the substantive testing to determine the reliability of accounting control and the integrity of computerized accounting records, such as calculation checks, check addition, select value and negative value, detection of the violation of system values, detecting unreasonable items that could lead to the matter misstatement, conducting new calculation and analysis when it is required, selecting items for audit testing, for example the sampling, and finally to check the completeness of the audit procedure. The most common audit software is GAS and CAS. GAS is a generalized audit software, also known as a standardized audit software, where the function is to read and extract data from the entity's computer file or database to make a further audit testing, perform calculation, selecting samples, and finally to provide a report. The second one is the CAS, Custom Audit Software, or it is also known as written program or reported programs, where the written program is for a specific audit task and it will be necessary to use when the entity's CIS system is not compatible with the generalized audit software. The third type of CAAT is test data. The auditor will create a simulated transaction data that is called a test data to testing the application controls in the entity's program computer. The testing data include both valid and invalid data. This technique is used to check the data validation controls and error detection routines. It will check processing logic controls, arithmetic calculation, transaction in record files and report. It will be very beneficial for the auditor as it will provide a direct evidence whether it is complete, accurate, whether it is relevant, whether it is very effective in their processing. However, there are also disadvantages where it will be very time consuming as the testing data will go through the process and the auditor may have the uncertainty whether the testing data is relevant or not. Other than the types of CAAT that I've mentioned, there are also other types of CAAT, which is parallel simulation, where the auditor will construct a simulation program that is similar to the entity's application program. So their program will be parallel with each other's. Next, we have integrated test facility, where this technique will enter the test data along with the actual data in a normal application run. So both test data and actual data will be entered together. And the last one is concurrent auditing technique. There are many benefits of using computer-assisted audit techniques in auditing. The first one is it will save times. Next, it has an ability to scrutinize a large volume of data. And the third one is it eliminates manual casting and cross-casting, where the system and the software will automate the casting automatically. The fourth one is it will lessen manual procedure. Like I mentioned earlier, this software will automate the procedures. And lastly, the review and finalizing times may be reduced. So the most important things is, the most advantage is it will shorten the time consumed by the auditor compared to using the traditional ways. In conclusion, information technology now has brought a significant advancement to the audit process where it improved the efficiency, effectiveness, and the ability to identify and respond to risks. Auditors must stay updated on emerging technologies and develop the necessary skills to leverage with the IT tools effectively in their auditing process.